So we are the founders of Crypto Monday. It is a get-together every Monday night at 6:30 to 9:30 in New York and 19 other cities right now. We formed it, the concept, in the first week of January this year. We've been surprised by the uptake, and we're growing right now by about one city per week. It's a completely decentralized organization. We have our own open source code. Basically, it's a PDF, 2 pages. Anyone grabs it and starts their own. And it's been really a success in that it feeds to what we're about, which is that this is a political and social change that's happening in the global community that's driving cryptocurrency, that's driving blockchain, that everyone wants to talk about the economics and the price of Bitcoin and what is Ether doing. But the reality is that those things are just really symptoms of a much bigger wave that's happening. And it's really the answer to why this is not a bubble. So if we look over here, we're almost getting details there. For my first slide, so anyway, we're VC, community-based VC, raising a $100 million fund to invest in protocols, platforms, and exchanges that need to come into existence before there can be a decentralized economy. Right now, all the things you read about and all the things you talk about, they do not exist. Okay? You're putting money into ideas and brilliant people who are trying to change the world, but at the end of the day, we need to have changes in technology before we can actually have this change happen. So I'll start with the presentation, and I see we're getting there slowly. So blockchain is truth without trusting. Okay? So when you turn on the TV today, when you read the newspaper, when you read Time, or even now it's the New York Times, you know, everyone's lying to you, right? Everyone's giving you information with metadata attached to it. No one gives you a fact. There's no such thing as a fact. Okay? Our White House has invented alternative facts to explain to us what they are, aren't, or might be doing, right? The Republicans are lying, the Democrats are lying, the progressives are lying, the Israelis are lying, the Arabs are lying, the Iranians are lying, your bank is lying, and the cable company is lying. Everyone's trying to get you to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. They want to shape the information that you receive, and they want to tell you what you're supposed to think after you get that information. And humanity is getting sick of it, okay? And it is causing us, it is a toxic environment for human beings that we need to communicate with each other through third parties that have business models and are trying to shape the way that we deal with each other so it fits into their business model so they can make money. And this is a disease that we're having, okay? And you know, you could be capitalist, you could be Marxist, it doesn't really matter. This is about humanity. And so what's happened is I'm assuming this is a pretty knowledgeable group here about what is blockchain, so I'm not going to explain what a blockchain is. But at the end of the day, what we're talking about is the ability to point at that light and say it's on or it's off, okay? No metadata, no BS. We can either see what's the state of that dot, and then we can add to that a smart contract where we string together other binary items where we know whether they're on or off, and you can start to build relationships on a peer-to-peer basis directly with other human beings or between machines, which are based on facts. And that is what's coming for us, and that is what's changing, okay? And this is already happening. Can we get to the next slide? Okay, so this is what's happening. What you would see over there would be, in the left-hand column, what you would see is all the old modalities that we've dealt with. In banks, it was Chase and JP Morgan. You know, for information, it was Encyclopedia Britannica, right, or Life magazine. Right, and then you know you have Goldman Sachs and all these other things you've used in the past. Those have now been replaced not by decentralized businesses yet, but by peer-to-peer businesses like Venmo instead of your bank, right? Like Airbnb instead of Marriott, like you know, like Uber as a marketplace for rides as opposed to a centralized ride company, right? And so that's the transition right now is from centralized to marketplace peer-to-peer. And the next jump is going to be direct decentralization. And this is already happening. And this is the demand pull that's creating the need for the decentralized technologies that we're investing in and that we're talking about. So I apologize. I have to remember. This is the first time I've given this speech, so I'm kind of like making it up. All right. So What's happening now is, okay, we have these modalities, we understand how it's changing, our iPhone actually represents these changes by the little dots. We're moving from centralized to peer-to-peer, the next will be decentralized. So people are saying, oh my God, it's too late. Like Bitcoin went to 20,000, it's at 10,000, I can't do it anymore, I can't believe I missed this, right? But if you looked at the adoption chart of the internet against the adoption chart of cryptocurrencies and decentralized investments, you would see that we're in year 4-ish of the trend, and we're already crossing up and through, we can't get there on the chart, but we're already getting up and through the line which represents the adoption for the internet. So cryptocurrencies and this decentralized economy is growing faster than the internet. So it's hitting more people more directly, faster, even though the internet was actually more useful than the decentralized economy when it first came out. When it's first coming out. And then if you looked at the size of the assets, you could see that we have around $400 billion worth of crypto assets in the world today. If you looked at real estate, there's 240 trillion. There's 108 trillion in bonds. The numbers are ridiculous, right? So if you were going to grow this economy into just a meaningful percentage of the economy, you could grow by 10,000 times and still only represent 1% of the securitizable assets globally. So we're not even a rounding error yet. What we have now are early adopters who are very interested and who are following it and who are enthusiastic and are agents for change, but we really haven't even started to touch the mass adoption yet. And then if you look at economic performance, Bitcoin, which went up and went down, it goes up, it goes down, right? And everyone's worried about it. At the end of the day, we think this is just early gyrations. You're never going to see these blips on the chart in the long run. If you look at Amazon's chart from the late 1990s, I mean, the most money I ever lost on a stock was on Amazon, because I shorted Amazon because I'm really brilliant, right? So the stock was at it was at 50. It can't possibly go any higher. The guys are never going to make money. Short it, boom, goes to 100, of course, right? So I sell it then, of course, and then of course it drops down to 5, right? So because everyone else figured out it's going to go bankrupt, it's never going to make money, and then of course it went back up, and now if you look at the chart, it's gone up 1,700% over the last 20 years. A fantastic investment. And those times where I couldn't sleep and my stomach was sick, I can't even find them on the chart. And that's really where we are right now with Bitcoin. You're not going to find the 9,000 to 20,000 to 9,000 to 11 to 7. In the long run, this thing's either going to 0 or it's going to half a million, right? And I don't pretend to know which one. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be where it is today, and where we are today is not going to be relevant. That's just one of the foils of being human, to actually think that you're relevant in the picture and that what you think matters. Because at the end of the day, you know the answer to that. So then if you look at the dispersion, Bitcoin dominance is something that I think everyone should be watching. Because in the beginning, there was just Bitcoin, right? So Bitcoin represented 95% of all the crypto assets. Everything was Bitcoin. Bitcoin was crypto, right? But then if you go back, let's say in December of 16, Bitcoin dominance was 90%, okay? Today, Bitcoin dominance is 42%. So Bitcoin dominance has fallen by 50%, and that's in 2 years. That's meaningful, and that shows you that there's a diversification of the market coming, that people are looking at more than just Bitcoin. I personally think that Bitcoin dominance is going to go to 5. I don't think it's going to be dominance anymore. It isn't dominance anymore. It's below 50%. So I think that Bitcoin will play a role. I think it could be digital gold, but it's normal in these markets to have gyrations and to have technology leapfrogging. Okay? It's important to remember that this is not something different. It's just something new. Right? I've been doing emerging markets for 30 years. I ran investment banking for Bear Stearns in Hong Kong from '89 to '94, and I took public the first company in China to list on the New York Stock Exchange. I also ran Asian investment banking for Furman Cells and for ING Barings, and again, did a lot of early stage deals in emerging markets. And for the last 20 years, I've been advising early stage companies globally on how to create liquidity strategies, which is exactly what we're doing now for ICOs. And I can tell you that all the emerging markets, when you take out the subject matter and just look at them statistically, they're all almost identical. That's China, that's Asia, that's computers, that's voice over IP, that's cell phones. They all go through this early growth in with the first company that comes out, and then there's over demand, then there's oversupply. They bounce up and down a while, then they become normalized, then they go on a chart, and then they become an asset class. And that's exactly what's happening here right now. So don't get fooled by the ups and downs, because this is part of the normal change. And the reason that they're all the same is really simple, and that is because the participants in all these markets are humans. So it doesn't really matter if you're Chinese, or if you're holding a computer, or if you like voice over IP, or you want to look at HTTP. It's all the human interaction that we're looking at, and humans are predictable. We are lemmings. We are driven by fear and by greed, right? And it happens over and over again. And so what's happening to us now is exactly the same chart. So we're going through some of the old charts. I'm going to skip that up there. So, sorry. So everyone's worried now about security tokens, about the SEC, about what's going to happen. Okay. First of all, you should know that I actually think nothing's going to happen. Don't record this. I hope there's no one from the Wall Street Journal here. But with this administration, the idea that they can actually do something and do anything is zero. And they're trying to get rid of all regulation anyway. And there's nobody working at the department, at the SEC, or anywhere else. And the people that are working there don't want to make a decision because just being visible makes them vulnerable to being fired. So my sense is just, you know, is comply and do the right thing, be a good actor, but go forth and multiply, because this government, it should be as good as it gets for us, even though you can probably figure out what I think of this government. So what's happened so far? You know, ICOs are terrible, they're not happening here, they're being held up. The truth is, I can guarantee you, absolutely guarantee you, that this year will be bigger for ICOs than last year. And how can I do that? Because it's already happened. Okay? We've already had 2 times more volume and transactions happen in this first quarter or third of this year than happened all last year. So this idea that it's slowing down, the idea that last year was an aberration, it's not true. What's really true is that there is a flood behind these gates right now that's waiting to figure out how to move around. And what's really happening globally is that the center of the global capital markets is moving away from the United States. And this is, so again, everything is fractals, right? Where the United States was built upon a trust in a democracy where your word was your bond, and where you sided with the good guy and you did the right thing, okay? You can all have your own opinion about where we are on that scale. But right now, the capital markets are looking at us saying, we don't really need the SEC. There seems to be enough money outside the United States to do my deals. There's less regulation, and I actually know that these guys, I can figure out what the governments are trying to do. So we're disadvantaging ourselves right now, and there's a market that is growing, and it is literally growing without us. So something that you should watch right now, and I think that's actually the subject of the first panel here, which is a nice segue in a bit, is that this business is global by its definition. And again, to go back to the political and social underpinnings, you know, intelligence is equally distributed around the world. It is also equally distributed between the sexes. And our society does not take advantage of this reality, right? We're xenophobic, we're prejudiced, we're sexist, right? And so these are things that are disadvantaging us as a global community. And this is something that the blockchain community as a society is trying to address. And again, this goes back to why there's so much demand pull here, why this is so attractive, why people want to talk about this, why people come to Crypto Monday, just to talk to other people about the thing that they're passionate about, because they understand that this is not the end. This is the means for how we change. This is how we take power back. Blockchain is about voting, right? At its base understanding, blockchain is a methodology for gaining consensus amongst the crowd to agree on what is factually accurate that should be locked in and used for the basis of other decisions, right? And so it takes it away from the government, it takes it away from the banks, it takes it away from all these trusted parties that have not been acting in our best interest, and gives this back to us as individuals. And that's why it's important to CryptoOracle, and that's why it's important to me, and that's why I hope it's important to you.